I rise today in support of refusing to adopt the paid family leave and to send this back to the committee. We really need, I think at the very minimum, Minnesotans want us to be doing things the correct way. And this has been really reckless, and it's actually very surprising. You know, as I'll say again, but the Democrats, they have the governor, they have the Senate, they have the House. And so there's no reason to skip the corners. At the end of the day, they also have the votes. Their legislation is going to pass through. And so this is such a big bill. This is something that is literally going to affect every corner of Minnesota. And I've been talking to people in my district. The Red Wing Chamber, they are very concerned with this. They are begging us to look at this. There's other chambers of commerce in my district that are begging for us to do this. With a $17.5 billion surplus, it is shocking and surprising, and frankly, it's dangerous what's happening right now with the mass expansion of our government. Because there is something about doing things too fast and too recklessly. Even though you have the power, it doesn't mean that you should do everything. We should be responsible. I'm very concerned for our schools as we are already putting on them so many new unfunded mandates, and this is one more that's just coming. Yet I still, as many times as I have asked, do not know how this bill, how schools are going to be able to pay for paid family leave. I am asking for this to be sent back. Let's look at it this way. This is like a salad bar. The session is a salad bar. Everybody walks through, you grab a salad. But you don't put everything on the salad, because in the end, it's probably pretty disgusting, and it's messy, and it's going to fall apart, and you really can't eat it all. Right now, because you had $17.5 billion surplus, because you had ultimate control, you took everything from the salad bar and you made this big, giant salad, or you're trying to, and Minnesota doesn't want to eat it. It's not very appetizing. It's too quick, it's reckless, it's messy. Members, let's send paid family leave back to the committee. There is absolutely no reason to be doing so much damage to Minnesota in one session. I know sometimes we don't like to look at facts, it seems like in here. I'm not sure why. It seems like they're very important. But I think that there's a few facts that we need to bring up again. And one is that last year we lost over 19,000 citizens who were taxpayers. Also, between the years of 2020 and 2021, Minnesota lost $1.5 billion of adjusted gross income. I know Representative Garofalo tried to discuss this. I think he even put up a little table in the back and tried to discuss with members in the back that we had lost $1.5 billion of adjusted gross income. I think Representative Pinto went back and got that lesson, so hopefully that went well for him. But that is the facts, Minnesota. That is the facts. We lost $1.5 billion. It does seem like we want to California, Minnesota, and yet a couple of years ago, California sat at the same time where they had a large surplus. They implemented many of these laws that we are trying to do this session, And this is public knowledge. After implementing these laws, they are now in a huge deficit situation. Why are we looking to an example like California when what they did failed? Let me ask that again. Why are we passing laws and legislation that was tried, went through law, went through the process, was implemented, failed, and now the state of California is at an extreme deficit? As I grew up, I truly believed in what I'm going to call the American dream. The dream that if you worked hard, if you went to school, and if you worked hard, you could do anything. And that's when you hear the stories of very successful business owners in Minnesota and in America, I would believe that they believe that same dream as I did. That you would get educated, that you would work hard, that you would make a way for yourself. And the reason why paid family leave is very anti-American is that this is government dictating to businesses how to manage their businesses. 80% of businesses already offer benefits such as paid family leave. And yet, in the wisdom of this chamber, we think we know better than small businesses. We think we know better than the people that were willing to take out the loans, take out the financial risk, do the work, put in the time, and grow a business. 80% of businesses already offer benefits that are similar to this. And yet, in the arrogance, in the pridefulness of the bureaucrats who were elected to St. Paul, we believe that we know better. We offered amendments to even make this so that it wasn't quite so difficult, quite so bad for small businesses. We offered amendments to exempt small businesses that, were of 5 employees. But the Democrats said no. Can you imagine what kind of burden you are going to put on something like a daycare? A daycare that maybe only has 2 or 3 employees. And now they have to provide this leave. They have to. Because in our wisdom, in our ultimate wisdom, we made this law. Now we are in a workforce shortage, and that daycare, they don't have any other choices. They're paying an employee to leave on paid family leave. They don't have enough people to work in the daycare to provide for the children. If the children are not able to come to the daycare is also not going to get paid. And it's pretty easy to see how quickly that small businesses are going to close. I am from an area of many small towns. We have many businesses that don't have very many employees in them. We already have a workforce shortage that will literally shut down production because of the ultimate wisdom of this body, of the bureaucrats of the Democrats who think that they know better. We need to send this bill back to the committee and hear the voices of the actual business owners, the people who are begging for this legislation to be stopped. I asked a researcher, more specifically, if they could give me some examples of other states that offer anything like this paid family leave. And it comes to find out that other states do offer versions of the paid family leave. However, what Minnesota did, the Minnesota Democrats, in their ultimate wisdom, in their ultimate arrogance and pridefulness this season, they literally took every version of a paid family leave that's offered in another state and made it as extreme as they possibly could. There is no other state that has a program this extreme in the United States. We have no idea how our businesses are going to be able to provide. And because I'm on the education committee, I have been all session talking very closely to school boards, to superintendents and administration. They're already struggling with having enough teachers. No one is answering how schools are going to magically bring teachers into the fold to cover for the teachers that are gone. And no one has answered who is funding this. That seems like two very important questions that a legislative body that is about to pass one of the biggest new business burdens that we've ever seen in the state of Minnesota might want to understand how our schools are going to be able to cover the workforce shortage and how they're going to pay for an unfunded mandate. We are incentivizing not working. And this continues to be a very common thread throughout this whole legislative session. Can anyone tell me a story of a hero, of someone that worked hard, someone built a business, that someone did something great, whether they were an athlete, a business person? Someone share me a story that in that story they took off 20 weeks per year. We are incentivizing not working in Minnesota. We are incentivizing not being a productive part of our society. And that is damaging to us. We are not taking into account how small businesses are going to be able to keep their doors open. In rural Minnesota, I'm in a very strong agricultural district. We have times in our district, there's a co-op called Egg Partners. There's times when they are farming and they're delivering things to the farmers, whether it's fertilizer out to the field, seed, whatever it is. There's people that might be working 12 hours, 16 hours. And they have to do it because they have to get their crops in a very small window. And then they're paid for later, or they get time off later. But in that amount of time, there's only so much time to get their crops in. They have to work that much. Why is the government meddling in the private sector of private businesses making decisions of when their employees are going to be able to get off? I don't think we understand the unintended consequences that could happen to some of these businesses when all of a sudden they have to provide 20 weeks paid leave, and they just don't have the workforce to do the job that needs to be done. We truly are having a clashing of ideas in Minnesota, and we're going to have to decide where we're at. Either we believe in people and we incentivize working hard to achieve, whether that's in school or whether that's in business, or we continue down this path that we think we know better than small businesses, that we know better than the school boards, that we know better than local governments, the counties, the cities. And here in St. Paul, the bureaucrats manage and dictate to every other entity in Minnesota and tell them how to run their business. Paid family leave truly has the ability to be one of the most damaging laws passed this year to our small businesses. And just like many other of the pieces of legislation that have come across, this is falling on deaf ears, Minnesota. This is disgusting to watch. It truly is disheartening to see one party be so emboldened to think that they can just ramrod through this legislation system without any consideration of anyone else. Please vote to adopt refusal of the committee.